Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be showcasing something we've been working on, the LNbits developers have been working on, which I think is really interesting. We're interested, and we've been working in LNbits on using Nostr in ways beyond social networking. For those who don't know my connection to Nostr, so I work on a project called LNbits, which is a Lightning Wallets account system. We also have these extensions, and one of the first extensions which I made was an extension called Diagon Alley, which is a concept for a censorship-resistant marketplace. And then me and Firtjaf was developing LNbits at the time as well. We worked on turning that into a protocol. And then when Nostr came out, that was one of the threads, one of the influences into the creation of the Nostr protocol as well. So I was instantly hooked to Nostr. And then I thought, well, now we have this generalized protocol, we can build the marketplace on top of Nostr as well. So that's what we did in LNbits, which I'm going to showcase. So the thing which we've been working on in LNbits is Nostr IoT. If any of you have IoT devices at home, you're probably aware of the terms and conditions of the software and hardware which you run. And you're buying surveillance devices and installing them on your own local network, and then lots of data gets fed back to wherever. It's quite Orwellian and terrible. So the NIPS PR'd into the Nostr protocol repo, and then you can go check it out. It's 107. Where is he? Oh yeah. And in it, it's really just I'm just DMing devices in my home and telling them to turn on and off, turn my heating up, or read out my battery levels from my solar panels. But then how did I get here? Well, so I first, in Bitcoin, I first started building, when we had the Lightning Network, I went to a Lightning Hack Day in Berlin, arranged by Fulmo, Christian Rutzel, people like that, which is very inspirational. And I realized there wasn't that many people working on microcontrollers in Bitcoin and Lightning, so I wanted to kind of like help nurture a maker scene. And one of the ways in which I thought I could do that is just come up with some simple projects to teach people how to use those tools, and then do some tutorial videos. And the first tutorial video which I did was for a fake hardware wallet. So if you plugged in the hardware wallet, it would send a message to your Telegram friends, or to a group on Telegram, and say that somebody's trying to steal your Bitcoin. And you could also just use it as a panic button as well. But I started the video off with this clip of Andreas. Let me see if I can turn that up. Oh, I can't get audio through here. How can I not get the audio through here? I probably have to like select. Well, let me see if I can play this through the. So this is the first ever tutorial video which I made. Actually, Pulse. Let me just quickly see if I can get this to go through there instead. Yeah. All right. Probably not. No. Okay. Well, anyway. So in this little opening video by Andreas, he's just saying. He's talking about IoT and how in a future world where the IoT is controlled by corporations, that could be quite dystopian. However, if users take control of IoT, then it could be a more pleasant future where we can actually use those tools as liberation, which I think is a very cypherpunk ideology or thought. And then, so after that little brief introduction there, there's a young me of 5 years ago. This is how much I've aged from working on Bitcoin for 5 years. It's quite depressing. And then I go on to show you how to make this little device using an ESP. Whoops, daisy. Using a little ESP microcontroller. Okay, so that's where I started, wanting to make IoT devices using Bitcoin and Lightning payments. So now, to be able to turn those IoT devices on using Nostr is a dream for me. And the way it simply works is you're literally just DMing something, telling it to turn on, or telling the heating to turn up, or whatever. So if we take a little quick look at LNbits, there's a couple of ways in which you can run LNbits. LNbits is designed to make anyone able to run a service like OpenNode. You could run it for yourself, or you could run it for friends, family, or you could run it for the whole world if you want to. So you could be a custodian and run a Lightning service where people can access a Lightning wallet. And then once you have LNbits installed, then you can create wallets. And it's trivial to create a wallet. Every wallet has its own API keys, so you can build my issue was when I was building, if I made something like a Lightning point of sale for Bitcoin, is I would have to make like 5 different versions for all the different funding sources out there. Whereas with this, I can just design for LNbits and then build for its API, knowing that that API has been hardened and LNbits has been running in the wild. And then when we have like some nice Swagger docs on building for LNbits. And then each device can have its own wallet, which is connecting to. So if I build an ATM, there can be a limited amount of funds which have exposure from my ATM. The other thing which we wanted to add to LNbits was extensions. So this project came out of there's a sort of thriving maker community scene in Lightning very early on some of the Telegram groups, such as the Lightning Theoretical Institute and LNURL Mafia. And there's a bunch of us just playing around with this new technology, this new protocol, a bit like Nostr now. We've got this blank canvas of possibilities and things we can build, and then we're just sort of exploring, you know, what we could build. And quite often someone would come out with a great project like a Jukebox. You know, so a way of connecting your Spotify account to a front-end service where people can select a song from a playlist you allow them to select from, and then if they pay, it will then play that song on a device like a phone or something, which means you can make like a nice little Bitcoin Lightning jukebox in your cafe or your bar or whatever. But that's that project. You'd have to, in order to run it, you would have to go to a repo, you'd have to install it, and then all these installations will work differently. So it sort of made sense that those sorts of projects that we just turn them into little extensions on LNbits. So it's kind of like the WordPress for your Bitcoin Lightning node, in that you can just extend it in all these different directions depending on what functionality you want. And we've got extensions for things like bulk cards, minting your own bulk cards. User Manager is a great extension for if you're building a service, or if you need Lightning or user account systems, Bitcoin Lightning and user account systems in your project. This is why LNbits is very popular among the Bitcoin Lightning builders, because they can just implement it into their stack, and then that'll take care of all that stuff for them, and they don't need to worry about it. And they know that there's been some hardening done in the wild. We've had this server running for 3 years, and yeah, it's amazing. It's still going strong, and the project goes from strength to strength. And what's great about our extension framework is it makes it in Nostr and Bitcoin. We have this rapidly evolving ecosystem where we end up with a new protocol like Nostr or something like LNURL. And because it's relatively trivial to develop one of these extensions, it means that we can roll out these things quickly, and then builders can make use of them if they're using LNbits as an API. So every time you install an extension, that extension comes with its own API endpoints, which you can build on top of. Which means that, again, for builders, every single time a new extension comes out, they can just implement it and then offer that service or offer that functionality to their end users, obfuscated through their own UI or whatever they're doing. So this is our demo server, which you can use just for playing around with the software, but please don't use it for production, even though everyone does use it for production, but they shouldn't. You can also access LNbits by spinning it up on our SaaS. So we have just like WordPress, you can go to wordpress.com and then pay to spin up a WordPress. We have that also for LNbits. So if I create an account now, this means I can show you the admin backend, and then also some of the Nostr extensions which we have in LNbits, or admin-only extensions. So I have to do this. All right. So sign up. Okay, and then let's log in. And of course, you can also run LNbits by just installing it on your own VPS or on your own local machine if you want to. And we make that easier and easier as time wears on. So I'm going to create a new instance in LNbits.com here now. And then what you get is basically an LNURL pay, and you just pay 21 sats an hour to keep the instance running. And then when it runs out, you just have to, it'll freeze the instance, and then you can get it spin up. You can pay and it'll spin up again for you. So if I pay this LNURL pay now, and again, this is, a service which we haven't rolled out as a product or anything. It's really just for testing purposes, and to show people the back end. Ideally, people are going to run LNbits themselves on their own VPS or their own Lightning node. So in a second now, it should register that I've made a payment, and then it will start provisioning my LNbits instance. While it's doing that, I'll go over some of the other things which I started to build in those original. Well, no, actually, no. I'll jump forward. So, from the original first IoT devices which I was building, and I experimented around with some mesh networking as well with these microcontrollers. That then turned into the MakerBits community, and with that community, we've built a $10 hardware wallet which you can build yourself. It's just again using a simple ESP32 microcontroller, and also a Lightning point of sale which you can run offline. And then a Bitcoin switch, which is great, so you can basically turn anything on with Bitcoin, and like an ATM, and a bunch of projects on here. Yeah, so one example of how I use this in a fun way a couple of years ago is we have our every week we do a digest of Bitcoin news, where me and a couple of pals, no one watches it, we have a little YouTube channel and we go on there and we discuss Bitcoin news. And then so in it, I set up a couple of QR codes where if you paid this one, it would blow smoke in my face. And then if you paid this one, you could slap me if you didn't like what I was saying. And then as the money accumulated, you could actually scan the middle one and then pull the funds out the screen for slaps back. So you can see now if I'm playing it, Martin, my friend here, is just rabbiting on about Bitcoin. And then there we are, someone then pays those 2 QR code. And then I get smoke blown in my face. But it's really interesting. It's a lot of the stuff we built, they were kind of goofy examples of the technology, but actually being able to pay in a way where you don't have to register any credit card details or anything, and then have something happen in the real life on a YouTube stream is obviously, or a video stream is obviously very powerful and has lots of potential use cases. What was funny about this was the next day someone was watching the YouTube video, who I think might even be here, in fact. And then they thought, then they thought, well, I'll see if I can still pay it, even though they're watching, pre-recorded video. So then they paid it, and then I got this message then from my missus. So she was using our little office, and then there was a slapping machine on the side, and then all of a sudden, boosh, she got hit by the slapping machine, which was fun. Yeah. Let's see if our LNbits is provisioned, shall we? Where is that? Okay, here we are. So now I can open up the admin dashboard for our LNbits install. And you get a little unique subdomain. It's pretty cool. Let's theme it to make it a little bit prettier. Should we go? Oh, yeah, there we are. And now we have access to this managed server area where we can do stuff like connect it to a funding source. So currently at the moment, it's not connected to a funding source. You can connect it to LND, Eclair, Core Lightning, OpenNode, LNTipBot. There's a whole bunch of different funding sources you can connect it to. You can even connect it to an LNbits wallet and use that as a funding source. So that's what I'm going to do now because it's nice and easy. So I'm just going to take the admin key from there, from this LNbits running on our demo server. And then I'm going to go to LNbits wallet, pop in my admin key, save. And now I need to restart the server because it's got that new funding source. So now this LNbits install will be using this wallet as a funding source, so it can create invoices and check to see if invoices have been paid and those sorts of things. So it should have restarted. There we go. And then I should be able to create, hopefully, an invoice. There we are. And then if I pay that, I feel kind of bad rabbiting on about a Bitcoin Lightning project in a Nostr conference, but I have to kind of lay the groundwork as to what this project is for it to kind of make sense, I suppose. So there we are. So we've received the payment, and then also it'll go into our funding source wallet, which is that there. So if I go to extensions now, and I go to installed, we haven't got any extensions installed. LNbits core is just that Lightning Wallet account system, and then we have to go and actually install an extension. So one of the extensions which I want to show you is something called the Nostr Relay. And this is a really easy way to just spin up a relay with minimal work, and then it has a bunch of great functionality in it as well. And of course, that API which you can plug into if you want to build. So let's give it an ID, Ben's relay, blah, 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 create relay. And then I can activate my relay, and there we go. That relay is now working. And this is a Nostr relay, which I can start sending notes through if I want to and connect to. What you can also do is payments. So you can create a paid plan for people to be able to access your relay. So you could say, well, it's going to cost you, 2,000 sats to join my relay, or it's going to cost you, I don't know, 1,000 sats per megabyte for me to store your data on my relay. And again, this is all accessible through the API. And then we got a bunch of other stuff in config there, relay type things and accounts. We have an allow and ban list for public keys. So you could just limit this relay to just your family, for example. In Nostr, I'm actually quite interested in small communities using Nostr. So I live in kind of like an anarchisty commune type thing. And we have public spaces such as a road and paths and those sorts of things, which people suggest ideas for maintaining. And we all have to reach agreement on those public spaces. So a client which I want to make is just a simple polling client where I can say, well, I'm going to put this new gravel on the path. I'm going to propose that, or I'm going to re-gravel the path. Should we use this gravel, this gravel, this gravel? And then people in the community, then they'll all have their own access to the client and their own keys. And they'll also be using the relay, and the relay will be restricted to just them. And then they can vote then on the different options which they want to pick. And then it could just be a real simple client just for polling, which I think would be a pretty cool application for Nostr. So that's a really way, and you can spin up multiple relays as well. You don't just have to use one relay, you can spin up multiple relays. The other extension which I want to show you is the Nostr Market extension. So as I said, like one of the influences which went into the development of Nostr was Diagon Alley, which was a LNbits extension for a censorship-resistant marketplace. And now we're able to build that on Nostr, which is perfect. By the way, I pronounced it Nostr because there is a video somewhere out there, the first video ever on Nostr, where me, Fiat, Jaff, JB, and a couple of other people, we're discussing, the first thing we discussed is how do we pronounce this thing, and then we did actually reach agreement that it should be Nostr. So it's out there somewhere. I'm going to enable Nostr Market. Oh, and the reason I pushed that was because Nostr in Welsh is good night. All right. Here we go. Generate new keys. You can use your own keys, but I'm going to generate my new key. So the idea is with Nostr Market is that it's like a market. So you have a stall, and you can fill it full of products. You can sign those products, push it up to a relay, and then somebody else who has your public key can pull those from your public key can pull those products down and then populate a marketplace client. And then you can receive payment for goods, for products, and then you have a nice little area here for DMs and stuff for talking to your customers. So I can create a new shipping zone. Say I'll only ship to Brazil. I'm going to sell cakes, and it's going to cost, for shipping, it's going to cost 200 sats in Brazil. And then I'm going to create a new stall, cake shop. Connect to this wallet, so that's where it's going to fetch the invoices from. And then I'm going to use that offer the shipping zone of cakes. Create stall. So now I've created my stall. I can actually start adding products to my stall. Welsh cake, blah, blah, blah. And then you can put in a price of how much, and then the quantity of how many you've got. So this is just like a regular, normal e-commerce type platform. And then you can upload an image or put an image URL in. And you can select categories as well, cakes. Just cakes, I suppose. And then custom shipping cost, auto reply, thanks for ordering cakes. Okay, great product. And now this store has some cakes on which I can, some Welsh cakes which I can sell, and I can populate full of other Welsh cakes. What's the cool thing is, so that we then have a front end, right? But the cool thing is, I'm going to have to dig this out. Hopefully I won't dox myself here now. Market. Because I want to show you an example. Like you can pull in multiple, you can have merchant lists. So you can pull in multiple merchants. Here we go. So if I click on that now, someone's been selling something they shouldn't be selling. Obviously, if you're maintaining a list of merchants, then I guess these are all different merchants selling different products, and then somehow this merchant has snuck in there. But yeah, So you could maintain a list of like vanilla merchants selling, vanilla products, or you could maintain a list of other products if you wanted to. I think they're all sold out, so there we are. Then you can't actually buy those. And then, if you want to buy something, you can add it to your basket, and then go and you can check out, proceed to check out, confirm, and then pay an invoice. Oh, shipping zone, Germany, confirm, and then you can fill that out and then pay and order the product. So for marketplaces, Nostr works really well. We sort of solved the problem of censorship-resistant marketplaces, and now it's how can we get away from those Orwellian terms and condition contracts which we sign when we use IoT devices. And that's the next thing which we've been building and working on. So what I have here, Black Coffee, one of our developers, specifically with hardware, he's set this up and he's built this now to spec to the 107, NIP 107. This is PR'd in on Nostr, so hopefully it'll get merged soon. So we actually have a shop as well, which I should probably shill, for LNbits, where we sell like hardware stuff, and BC manages the shop, and then as well as doing that, he also does R&D stuff as well, which is where he was able to make this while I was here. And then maybe we should sell these in the shop actually, these like lights which we can turn on using Nostr DMs. Now I did pull it before, so hopefully any wires haven't come out. But if I plug this in, so what we're going to try and simulate is just a light, turning a light on and off, and then also a heater, like your central heating or something in your house, which you can turn up or down. So I'm going to plug that in. Give it some power. There we go. And then I have on my phone just a simple progressive web app. And this is the whole point of, it's like, why would you use Nostr for IoT? And I think one of the biggest selling points is that permissionless development environment where anyone can build. If they're not happy with the way a client's working, or they think it's feeding data back to somewhere which it shouldn't, they can just use a different client. And the things, all we need for this to be able to talk to the client I'm using is the client's public key for when I send an on, off, or turn the heating up or down, and for it to connect to the same relay, and then for that to connect to the internet. So, and that's pretty much it. What's going on here? 1 second. Let's see if I can get the app up on my. I think there's a link to it somewhere. Sorry, 1 moment. I've already got this opened up. Yes. Okay. Again, I hope I don't dox myself. Okay. All right. So in here somewhere, there's a link to the app I can just open up. No, wait there. Sorry. Aha, here we go. Right, so this is just a simple client-sized app. I'm going to log in to the app. It's going to create a WebSocket to the relay. And then if I press the on button, our light turns on. So I was able to turn on an IoT device just with a simple, client, no terms and conditions, no horrible Orwellian behavior. And then I can also turn up the temperature of my thermostat. And then we should see a little reading out here where it says 19 degrees Celsius. And then also, I mean, this is faking it, but the idea is that I can get information about my solar panel batteries, and I can refresh, and it will just go and say what's the percentage of the batteries, and then it will send it back here. So something I'm really excited about. I think it has great applications, and it's very easy to build for. So I hope more people get involved building some IoT devices running over Nostr. I have a bunch of these at the back of the room, which I'll probably be doing workshops for tomorrow. I'll start early, and then I'll just sit down if anyone wants to make up one of these things and have like a Nostr IoT light in their house, which they can turn on and off, on a simple client. Then I'll be making those. What else should I cover? because we've run out of time. All right, yeah, so, extensions, right. So if I go to extensions here, this marketplace extension, because obviously I don't want to, in order for someone to be able to request an invoice, you don't want that client open all the time. So we have a generalized client called Nostr client, and this is like an always-on client which can run in your LNbits install. So I can enable that. This is what also is pretty cool about this as well. It's kind of a side effect. It's also a multiplexer. So you can actually add multiple relays to this always-on client. We have a bug there where this error pops up even though there's not an error there. Right, so I'm going to add a bunch of relays here. Now this just gives me one relay endpoint, and this is going to fetch all the notes from these 3 relays, or 2 relays, because one of them's not working. And then it will scan through so you don't like end up with duplicates. So your client, so say when you first install Damus or something, and it has like 15 WebSocket connections open to all these different relays, it could actually just have one WebSocket open to one relay. Because if you're just using the out-of-the-box relays in a social client, then I think it probably makes sense if they just have like 10 relays and then a multiplexer, you connect to that one WebSocket and it's not going to drain your battery on your phone. And then if you do want to have more like granular control over those relays, you could say, okay, turn this off, access those relays directly, and then delete which relays you don't want to use, or add your own relays or whatever. So I think like this is probably the way forward when it comes to making clients more efficient on things like battery life. And what other extensions have we got which are Nostr related? We also have a NIPO5 extension. So if you have a domain name and you want to sell NIPO5 addresses, then you can do that through this extension. Some of this stuff, like what's great about LNbits now is we can take this, so I own Nostr.com, and I think it'd be pretty cool on Nostr.com, similar to LNbits, where you could like just pay some sats and spin up a relay. So actually I'm thinking about just using the Nostr relay extension, which we have installed, and then through the API, making it so you can go to Nostr.com and like, there would be like a, spin up your own relay, and then just pay, I don't know, X amount of sats per month or whatever to spin up a relay. And then you could also like charge other people for using that relay as well. So I think we could make a really easy way for people to spin up relays on a similar like Kubernetes cluster as to what we're using for the spinning up of LNbits installs. I think I've run out of time. Have I run out of time? I have run out of time. Okay, there we are. There we go. Oh, I've got to be on the main stage. Oh, there we are. It's good though, isn't it? Look at that. I fucking love that. So cool. Okay, anyway, thank you very much.